115 million Americans developed a chronic disease without ever actually getting sick. Today, I'm going to show you the single biggest cause of this epidemic. And it's not what you think. It's not sugar. It's not seed oils. It's not even sitting in front of a screen for 8 hours a day. The real driver of this crisis happened inside a meeting room. Before we get into it, welcome back to BRO Health Tips. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we break down real health information every single week. Quick question before we dive in. Drop a comment below and tell me which city you're watching this from. I always love seeing where our community is tuning in from. Now, let's put on our detective hats for a minute. Whenever you have a health problem, there are two questions worth asking. First, when did it start? Second, what happened right before it started? These two questions give you a massive clue because there's been endless debate about what actually causes chronic disease. Some blame seed oils, some blame sugar, some blame saturated fat, some blame red meat. But if you look closely at the actual graphs of chronic disease over time, you'll notice something strange. The lines rise gradually and then suddenly they spike straight up. Not once but multiple times. Today we're focusing on three specific conditions: diabetes, high cholesterol, and hypertension. Look at the trend from 1990 through 2010. It's a slow, steady climb. Then, around 2017, the line goes almost vertical. Overnight, 31 million additional people were diagnosed with hypertension. Here's the strange part. Their actual blood pressure readings didn't change. What changed was the definition of what counts as high blood pressure. Now let's look at cholesterol. Back in 1988, a normal LDL level was considered to be 190. In 2001, a committee lowered that number to 130. Within 3 years, statin prescriptions doubled. Then in 2013, they lowered the threshold again, and almost overnight, 12.9 million more people were diagnosed with high cholesterol. Today, there are 86 million people carrying a high cholesterol diagnosis, and the majority of them are on medication. Then there's diabetes. Around 2010, there's a massive spike on the graph, and this one is especially alarming because an entirely new category of illness was created: prediabetes. With a single policy decision, 72 million people were suddenly classified as pre-diabetic. Add it all together, and roughly 115 million adults now fall into the diabetes or prediabetes category. That's discouraging enough on its own, but the part that really stood out to me was the conflict of interest. Many of the people sitting on the committees that redefined these conditions had financial relationships with the pharmaceutical companies that manufacture the drugs used to treat them. This information comes from a book called Overdiagnosed, written by Dr. Welch, MD. I'll link it below. There's actually a whole movement of physicians raising awareness about this issue. The British Medical Journal ran a multi-year campaign on exactly this topic called Too Much Medicine. In the book, Dr. Welch also covers how the same pattern shows up with osteoporosis and even with the definition of BMI itself, which is a flawed measurement since it doesn't account for muscle mass. That's a topic for another video. Here's the bigger picture, Wanan. When your internal environment is off, everything else struggles. Think of it like a fish tank. If the water is polluted, the fish get sick. You can feed them the best food and treat every individual symptom, but if the water itself stays toxic, nothing actually recovers. Your body runs on roughly 10 core signals: insulin, cortisol, inflammation, sleep quality, gut function, and more. Every one of these affects how you feel day to day. But there's usually one signal that's more disrupted than the rest, and until that one is addressed, everything else stays stuck. That's exactly why I built a free 2-minute quiz. It identifies which one of these core signals is holding your body back right now. The link is in the description. Take the quiz and stop guessing about what's actually wrong. So here's the real question. If you redefine a condition so that more people get diagnosed and put on medication, does it actually extend that person's life? Does it improve their health outcomes? The honest answer is no, it did not improve mortality. In fact, it kicked off a cycle of polypharmacy. You start one medication, it causes a side effect, so you get prescribed a second medication to manage that side effect, and the cycle continues. Take blood pressure as an example. For years, normal blood pressure was considered 140 over 90. Then, in November 2017, a panel of cardiologists voted to lower that number to 130 over 80. Same people, same blood pressure readings, but now a brand new diagnostic category. Overnight, 31 million people became classified as hypertensive. Meanwhile, the UK, Europe, Canada, Japan, and Australia all reviewed the exact same scientific evidence and chose not to change their guidelines, keeping the threshold at 140. Most people assume 130 over 80 is a healthy, normal reading. But under current US guidelines, that's actually classified as stage 1 hypertension. A significant portion of this so-called epidemic has been manufactured through redefinition, not through an actual change in people's health. So what's really driving diabetes and these related conditions? It comes down to insulin. Chronically elevated insulin levels lead to stiffer arteries. They raise cholesterol, they drive insulin resistance, which leads first to prediabetes and eventually to full type 2 diabetes. And what causes chronically elevated insulin in the first place? A diet high in refined carbohydrates, especially refined sugar and refined starches. Which brings us to the real question. Are there natural ways to address these conditions? The research says yes. When it comes to type 2 diabetes, there's solid data showing full reversal in 46 out of 100 people after 12 months of targeted lifestyle intervention. This is information that should be shared with patients before they're handed a prescription, since doctors are supposed to disclose alternative treatment options as part of informed consent. For high LDL cholesterol, there are several natural options backed by research. Red yeast rice can help lower LDL. Niacin has been shown to lower LDL while raising HDL. Plant sterols can bring LDL levels down. Regular exercise helps, and a low-carb diet has a measurable effect as well. Most of this research uses randomized controlled trials, which typically test one variable against a placebo. The problem is that this model isn't well suited to studying lifestyle changes, especially when multiple factors are combined at once. But using basic logic, couldn't we stack several proven interventions together? Improve the diet, add exercise, prioritize sleep, and reduce stress all at the same time. Look at hypertension specifically. Garlic has research behind it for lowering blood pressure. Hibiscus tea has been shown to reduce it as well. The DASH diet combined with reduced sodium intake significantly lowers blood pressure. Exercise helps. Lowering sodium while increasing potassium reduces hypertension, and adding magnesium has a similar effect. So why not combine several of these strategies to address the root cause directly? The honest answer is that there simply isn't a formal study combining all of them together. And until that research exists, many people won't treat it as valid, even though running a randomized trial on a fully combined lifestyle protocol is extremely difficult given how many variables are involved. So here's the summary. A large portion of the chronic disease epidemic in this country has been manufactured. Not entirely, but the sudden spikes absolutely have been. And since diabetes, high cholesterol, and hypertension all trace back to the same root cause, insulin resistance, it's critical that you understand exactly what it is and how to correct it. That's it for today's video. If this helped you understand what's really going on with your health, make sure you're subscribed to PRO Health Tips so you don't miss what's coming next.